Thank you, David Mudoka, for that. Now, it's about that time when we have that discussion that I had earlier promised you about. We have Busia Governor Dr. Paul Otuoma here with me. Governor, thank you so much for making time for us. It's a sad day for the country. We've lost 10 of our fallen heroes, if we may call them. Maybe your comments before we get to the nitty-gritties.
Let me take this opportunity to pass my condolences. Indeed, it's a very sad day for Kenya to have lost almost 10 people, including our Chief of Staff, Gen Ogola. Let me extend my condolences to the family and to the Republic of Kenya, because this was the highest ranking security leader in this country. And remember, he just took this position not hardly just within a year's time.
Yes.
And this has happened. And it's also coming on the backdrop when there was this security menace in the region where he had gone to. And there was an issue that maybe the military needs to come in to assist. And it starts in this manner. I want to tell Kenyans and those who worked with him to take heart. Sometimes these are the hazards that you go through in the course of duty. But I do believe that does not set the mission back. The mission still has to be focused on as we still mourn and empathize with those who have lost their lives. So my heartfelt condolences. But he has not died in vain if we achieve the reason as to why he was in those areas. Okay. What was the mission? And the mission was to ensure security for Kenyans. Unfortunately, this has happened. It should even make us have a bigger resolve to achieve that so that their lives don't go in vain.
Okay, thank you, Governor, for that. Of course, our prayers to the families and the entire nation, because the entire nation is mourning.
Sad, yeah.
But I want us to now focus on your county. I'm talking about Busia County. The past few days, we've reported floods wreaking havoc. Around 600 families have been displaced. What is happening? What are you doing about it?
Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate that especially the Budalangi area, it's not just 600 families. We have got almost 2 wards where you could be talking of upward of 20,000 families affected. Nearly the whole of that Budalangi area. We have got a part of Lower Samia, Bumbe area. We have got areas of Teso South and Teso North and Nambale. Because you must realize that Busia is a low-lying county, and all the activities that happen in the upper areas of both River Nzoia, River Sio, and even River Yala, we bear that brand. And again, given with the environmental changes that have happened, where there is backflow from Lake Victoria. So you are sandwiched between what is coming from the highland areas and also what the backflow from Lake Victoria. As a county, definitely we are challenged because we have got that multi-agency where the county government and the national government, we are supposed to work together. But it's a bit unfortunate that people have never come to understand what disaster is, including even our own representatives. Whereby sometimes you put resources in the budget for disaster mitigation, but they tend to think that, these are unforeseen things, they look amorphous, and those budgets are chopped. So you find you have got so little. Now we are trying to even spend the emergency money because we're almost not in an emergency situation. But then there are also those elaborate processes. But we're also saying that the national government, because they really remain with a lot of resources that are supposed to mitigate on some of these things, that we need to work together just as a multi-agency with all other agencies that are there to mitigate. But in Busia, I can tell you, we are not currently in a very good situation. I know that we sprayed for malaria, but I'm still worried of what is going to happen. The waterborne diseases that can come with this. So many schools are submerged. The roads are not passable. And for the county, I can be honest, we are overwhelmed. We are overwhelmed. It's not possible. In fact, to me, I had said that we must declare it as an emergency. It has gone beyond a disaster situation, so that we are able to deploy even more resources to address now the needs that are there.
And have you reached out to the national government?
Of course, definitely. As I said, we have a multi-agency. It's not just the national government, but also other players, Red Cross, and all this, where we are working together. But the response has been very slow, and people are really suffering.
Okay.
Yeah, because we put in our disaster funds, but because this has been a prolonged problem. You know, the winds blowing off classrooms, blowing off people's homes, and now the water, you know, submerging people's homes. As a county, we are completely, I can say, we are overwhelmed. But we have also learned our lessons that we need to put in more resources in disaster preparedness and even more personnel. And I was telling my members of the county assembly that when the executive makes this budget and you start chopping it by thinking that this is amorphous, this has now been a wake-up call. Mm-hmm. And I'm also appealing to our national government and other development partners to hasten so that we can reduce this suffering. Like now, the backflow of Lake Victoria is something that we have been talking about for very many years, and this is when people are talking about this issue of climate change. You know, some people have not come to understand the impact of climate change. They talk about it in abstract terms, but it is here with us. And I need to thank all these developments that we are doing through FLOCA, you know, these climate change mitigations. And then we are also looking at how, you know, we can start reducing the effects through tree planting, taking care of environment, capacity building for the communities. Mm-hmm. Some people don't understand that, but we need people from our children to know that climate change is real and it's impacting on our lives. Okay. We lost a lot of crops, just towards the end of last year. We almost lost 10,000 acres of crops that were almost just ready and they had to go. And this is where sometimes I say, when you see people getting aid in terms of this disaster thing, don't think that these are lazy people. These people have got a lot of resilience, because this happens, after it goes, they still plant. Yeah, but we need to do a little bit much more, and which I tend to think that the Busia County alone, we can't. We are really appealing to partners to come and help us. You know,
even as we come to terms, and even as Kenyans come to terms with the reality of climate change, you did mention that this should be a wake-up call. Yes. But then, Governor, with all due respect, we've been seeing this happen year after year.
Yes.
Last year, with the El Nino, we equally saw the same things. Isn't it high time? Don't you think we've had enough wake-up calls as a country?
Yeah, and this is what I'm saying. It all goes down to what we call multi-agency planning.
Yeah.
You will never end floods in Budalangi until you do something upstream in Cherangani. And there has been plans. In fact, there was plans to either do some dams in Lugari area, so that, you know, we mitigate on all these things. And when we do damming, it doesn't mean that we are flooding those areas. It means when we dam that water, because we have had a policy about harvesting water when it's plenty, instead of this thing of Serikali's idea. And then within a few days, you're again saying you have no water, there's no rain, there's no crop. And we said we move away from rain-fed agriculture to irrigated agriculture. All these plans are there. You have heard about these mega dams that are supposed to be done to harvest water when it's plenty and use it when it's there. Because don't forget that in the last 3-4 years, this country went through a very, very devastating drought period. Now we are having water. Now again we are crying. We were crying when there was no water. We are now crying when there is water. So we just need to implement all these plans that we talk about. Like, we know very well that we are in low-lying areas. Some of them are wetlands. Now, how do we help these communities there because of this climatic change? If the plans about putting dams all the way from Lugari, Cherangani area mitigating, so that the lowland areas are not affected, and the economic benefits that come through storing this water to use during the period of drought, because it's known in this country, there's always a cycle. Every 5 or 10 years, there'll be some serious drought, there'll be a lot of water. So the issue is about harvesting water and using it when it's required. But unfortunately, we have not lived up to this.
All right, so for those people who are your people watching you right now,
yes,
they're wondering, so then what will our governor do for us? What next?
What the governor can do, as I said, we have already passed, I had a cabinet last week,
okay,
and we authorized usage of emergency funds because there are processes. But even if we do, it is so little compared to the magnitude of problem that we are facing. So we are already working with bilateral partners, Red Cross. I'm already, like when I'm here in Nairobi, appealing to the National Disaster Committee that we need more resources. You remember last year, we had a meeting chaired by the Deputy Vice President by then, and they said that can we declare the usage of the disaster fund that is kept at CBK, but that was never effected, because if those funds came, because they were talking of almost 35 billion shillings, and there are very few counties that are affected, we can use those funds to do something. But at the same time, I'm also saying it should not just be disasters, as you say, that are things we know are going to come.
Yeah.
Because a disaster should be those unforeseen things. But things that are periodical, we must have some solution. What the Japanese have done, because they know they have got earthquakes, is to build earthquake-resistant buildings.
Yes, they
have early warning systems. Yeah, that's what they have done to mitigate. So you cannot just be saying that we didn't know the earthquake is coming. You don't know what time it will come, but you have got early warning systems. So in our case, that's what we have not done, and that's what we need to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's high time we break that cycle. And
We need to.
speaking of breaking the cycle, another cycle that we need to break is health workers' strike.
Yes.
Your nurses in Busia have threatened to down their tools by the end of this week and join the ongoing industrial strike. What are you doing about it? Because they say they have tried negotiating with you, but it's not bearing fruit.
I can tell you the health sector in this country, if we don't watch out, we are headed for a disaster. Both in terms of human resource and delivery. You must realize that before I even tackle the one about the nurses and all, you must realize that there was a CBA, that collective bargaining agreement, that was initiated in 2013. Now, remember 2013 was an election year. Then it was effected or agreed on in 2017. Again, another election year. It has not been actualized up to now. And this is now what is being demanded. And there are various things that are being demanded there. Another thing you must also remember, Kenyans made a deliberate decision when we were making the constitution that health is going to be a devolved function, especially all the way from level 4 down here, or level 5.
Yeah.
Other than maybe referrals and the national hospitals. Now, that was a deliberate decision in the constitution. But look at the resources that follow functions. Are these resources that are supposed to follow functions within the county, have they been deployed to follow those functions? What is the budget, collective budget of all counties put together, maybe vis-a-vis what is remaining at the health ministry, and who is bearing what? This is a conversation that Kenyans need to be honest with each other. These we are not going to solve through court orders when people are dying, through posturing when people are dying, because a doctor is trained to save lives, and they take an oath to save lives. When we start negotiating like this is just an industrial issue and it is all this thing, we are talking about Kenyans' lives. In fact, there are certain professionals and sectors that this will even be treasonable to do that. Are you getting it? So what we are saying is that let's be sober. Let us be able to address what. But I'm also against, because I've been around the political arena now for some time. I'm completely against, and Kenyans, we must pass even a law deliberately that trying to hoodwink the country during the political period to extract certain political capital out of things that you know are not going to be practical to implement should never be accepted. You remember the teachers' issue?
Yes.
That was done in 1997 during election time. People have died even without receiving those dues and it being implemented. I was a member of the Public Investment Committee in the Assembly before I went on this side. And we have been saying, even our legislators, let's be thorough when we look at it. I've also said that the CBAs must be negotiated at a certain level in government. Sometimes in government, they send very junior officers to negotiate the CBS, whereby there is no policy, there is no implementation framework at the national government level. Then reality hits. These people go to court, they say, oh, you committed yourself to this, and it doesn't happen. I saw it when I was in the Ministry of Local Government. And I said, by the time this was being negotiated, somebody should have looked at what they are calling the whole government approach, like what they are now trying to discuss. If health is devolved, what can we do as counties? I have been trying to negotiate with our health system in Busia. The doctors, where they talk about their leaves, their promotions, you know, their salaries and all these kind of things. And you're talking as a county, because the employer is the county service board. So
to you, they're unreasonable? Are their demands unreasonable?
They are not reasonable, but I'm saying the framework that is being used is what is not reasonable and is not tenable. Because the doctors we are talking about, they are those doctors who are employees of individual counties, employed by Busia Service Board.
Yes.
They are not the same ones employed by Kirinyaga Service Board. Are you getting it?
Yes, I get it.
Then you are talking about those doctors who are employed by the national government. Now, when we are mixing up all these things, it becomes a problem. Even the union that is representing, you are representing people who are employed, who have got different employers, different 47 counties. Each has got their own service board. Now, you have got a national umbrella body here negotiating on behalf of all these people when you don't even have agreements with some of these counties. You have only agreements maybe with the national government. So the whole structure, in my view, is wrong and needs to be fixed.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm asking you that is because your counterpart, that is Siaya Governor James Orengo, is on record supporting the strike, taking a contrary position to the Council of Governors. You know.
So he's supporting the strike. He wants who to solve the problems of Siaya? Has he sorted out? Is Siaya sorted out? So when you say I'm supporting this, you're supporting who to sort out? He should be telling us that I've sorted out my issue in Siaya, and this is what you should be looking at.
Okay.
So you are saying you are supporting it for who? Because the doctors who strike are for Siaya, employed by Siaya Service Board. So when you say you are supporting for who? The national government is a completely different issue. The Busia issue is Busia Service Board. The Siaya is Siaya Service Board. So when you are supporting and you are the one who is supposed to solve the problem, give us the formula what you have sorted out so that your doctors should not be on strike. Then you can come out and tell us, no, this is what I have done and this is what my colleagues you should be looking at.
Okay.
But when you say that he's on record, I have not seen it, but if you say he's on record supporting the strike, why is he not sorting it out? Because those are his employees. He should be sorting it out and telling us, in I have sorted this one out. Although I have not seen it, but this is the reality.
Okay. So let's now talk about Busia. How do you plan on sorting it out?
I plan to sort it out is because we have been addressing this issue.
Okay.
When we came in, I already had even an industrial strife where people's salaries had been stopped. And even the courts had ruled that it was legitimate to stop those strikes. I mean, to stop the salaries. Because you can't be paid when you are not working. But when I came in, I said, no, let us be reasonable. There are some people I'm seeing here who are union leaders, and they had already been paid their dues. And they were the ones leading these other people to go on strike. How come them they were paid their dues and these ones have not been paid? So I said, even if the court had ruled, let us go for an arbitration and be fair. Because if some of these people truly were back to work, there was no reason to punish them. And we put it in the budget. The only problem we have been having is disbursements. Like we just received money for January. That's the money we are now working with. Before that, we had only money for December. These disbursements that come from national government. And we have been seeing counties saying that these disbursements, delayed disbursements, are crippling service delivery. Now, when you are a reasonable person, you'll be saying, yes, we are in a very sensitive sector in terms of public service, the health sector.
Yes.
But remember, all these problems are cutting across all cadre of public service. So how come the other ones are not striking? Because you know very well, we can only pay you when we have received the equitable share. That's what we are using to pay you. Now, if we have not received that equitable share, you expect us to pay you from where? And if we engage your leaders and say, as we speak now, the only money we are in March, that time, the only money we have received for equitable share was for December. If you check Busia now, you'll see that the only money we received last week was for January. We have not received money for February, March, and we are now in April.
Yes.
So we are almost 3 months behind. And the problem is even bigger than what some of these people think, because it is only that we are not able to meet certain obligations, but even our development vote is affected, because you have to borrow money to pay for recurrent. But when you are paying people for recurrent and you don't have money for development, then it affects your development. Now, you'll find some of these things, as you said, sometimes you go before the Senate, the public accounts, then they'll be saying, you know, you didn't spend this money. But if money, you know that the year is going to close, the government year closes in June.
June, yes.
Now, if this money is going to come post-June,
yeah,
what are you supposed to do? That you are getting funds for 2-3 months past that period. And for us, in our case, you'll be talking of almost 1.8 billion. Now, 1.8 billion out of a development budget of 2.4 billion, what can you do? And these are issues that we are saying we need to have serious conversations. That if we want devolution to work, we must facilitate. Resources must follow functions. It's not this kind of posturings that we're always having. We know that we're also going through hard times as a country.
Yeah.
We do accept that. But we must also be ready as Kenyans to say, what are the real issues? And put them in perspective. You cannot say that we have been able to perform in certain fields that we have been in, and then when it comes to running the county, every time everything is seen in just a political pricing. You are not asking what are the real issues. Like today, I would be expecting the Senate to be discussing what are the real problems that are bedeviling county governments.
So what are they? Tell us.
This is what I'm telling you.
Okay.
One of the biggest problems is the
Finances.
way you are given functions, but resources are not following functions. Resources are coming late and delayed. Are you getting me?
Yes.
You remember the other day, even in terms of additional or conditional grants. You remember that bill that was in the assembly, it went to the Senate. It took quite a bit of time.
It did.
And remember that it is not just affecting conditional grants from government, even development partners. So you'll find all the programs that you have had are delayed. Now, today you want to tell me that the long rains are going to wait for you because funds have not come? The rains will still come at the right time. So when you lose that season, you have lost it. If you are to do agriculture and the season has come and you are not prepared, it is gone. You have to wait now for the short rains. So we are not able sometimes to achieve what we need. We need to improve productivity and efficiency. And sometimes I say, what we should be analyzing, even as oversight institutions,
yes,
is you must be auditing the system. What is making the system to fail? The issue of just waking up and looking at a governor is just an individual. It is the systems, the institutions, how are they working? What are the hurdles? What is this that we are making to remove these hurdles? But sometimes I see people obsessed. You think that the individual is the institution. This individual today, you have seen, even in the governors, immediately you are not in office now, the other person is sworn in and the institution continues. So let us be auditing the system and looking at it. What is this that is making the system not to work?
Okay.
Yeah, but this possession or over-obsession with individuals is making us lose the point. And the country is losing a lot. All these institutions should be looking at themselves and saying, as the institution of the assembly or the watchdog committee, as an institution, given our mandate of oversight, representation, and legislation, how is this institution helping the other institutions also to function?
All right, Governor, before we even move on to other issues, still on health and specifically in Busia County, just today when I was posting the poster of you coming for this interview, so many people texted and said, ask the governor about the state of Busia County Referral Hospital.
Yes.
They are complaining that they have to buy even syringes.
That's a bit unfortunate, I can tell you.
Yeah.
Because what we have done, and this is something I have been trying to solve over time. And I believe we have now bought the necessary,
equipment.
They call them commodities and drugs required in the institutions. And sometimes I always tell people, when this comes your way, please let us know. Because there is also this obsession with the people in the mentality that, this is not there. But when you go there, sometimes you find these things. But I always say, just like I have told you about institutions, the way we can continuously continue to improve is to go in that suggestion box and say, I'm here and there, and I'm having this problem. Because sometimes you go and check there what is generalized, that hakuna madawa, hakuna nini. When you go there, those things are there. So sometimes you don't know whether it is that deliberate issue of the workers, not to do it. Because I have said today, if we supply you 100 doses of malaria, we want, when we are doing inspection, to check, have you treated 100 patients? So there is a feedback mechanism. But don't tell us we gave you 100 doses of malaria, they are finished, and we cannot see in records how many patients you have done on this thing.
So accountability.
Accountability is the most important thing. So that we get we get proper feedback to be able to respond to the problems. So that one, I may not say yes or no, but it will be important for me today. If time would have allowed, I would even have called the officer concerned to say a patient has raised this issue. What is the problem? Because we have said that should not happen. Because remember, let me tell you, that as much as people talk like this, people pay some fee for these services. So why do you want to send somebody to acquire something else where you would have given those services and gotten a capitation either through the insurance or NHIF or now the social fund? Because if you chase these people away, it also affects your revenue. Look at the counties that have improved their revenue. It is through offering health services. That's how they have grown it. So I've always told my people that let us not look at medical service like, it is a serious cost to us. Because there's something that comes back through the insurances and these hospital NHIF capitations. Because if you are able to do more, then your capitation is more, and then you are able to revolve this. And now we have already come up with this what we're calling facility improvement fund through the hospitals, where they are able to roll this money back by being able to acquire the basic necessities that they need.
Okay. Governor, since you're talking about accountability and integrity and transparency, especially in public service, let's talk about the fact that a Senate Oversight Committee asked the EACC to, investigate Busia County over financial improprieties. First, your comment on that, because you're talking about accountability.
Let me tell you, I've been in the public sector for many years.
Yes.
And I can tell you, we must differentiate between activism and institutional mandate. Oversight is the role of the Senate. Are you getting me?
Yes.
And they have got departmental committees there. It is not necessarily PAC. PAC deals with the Auditor General's report. But there are departmental committees on agriculture, education that can look into that sector on the issues concerning that area. As we speak today, is there any matter of Busia before the Senate that we have not responded?
At the moment, no.
Yeah.
Yes.
Secondly, you must realize that EACC has got also its own mandate. And EACC does not need the prompting of everybody. They can get a whistleblower, they can get anybody to do that. So let us separate those two issues between the Senate oversight role and any investigative body, DCI and all that. And remember today, some of these institutions also sit in the watchdog committees. So they are able to pick up some of these issues. But when you start going outside the framework in which you are supposed to operate, it becomes difficult for me. I was a member of PIC, Public Investment Committee, in the Assembly for more than 5 years. I was a member of the cabinet in 3 ministries for more than 5 years. I've been in the private sector. I understand these things. There is a law that talks about right to information. Are you getting me?
Yes.
But that right to information, how do you want it? You can't come today and say you want to audit the whole government system. without prerequisite resources and without the institution, because you must decide, are you coming as an activist or are you coming as a senator?
Governor, are you talking about your senator?
I mean, anybody. I'm talking, you asked me about generally, but I can tell you that is a problem. Because you must realize that it's not only Busia that has been taken to court. We are in court, we are in Senate, we are where. So we must decide what is what. Because the Senate as an institution has got mechanisms through which to work under the law. Now, before we have exhausted that, we are in court. The courts also have got their own jurisdiction. So you can never go there and say, because we are in the Senate, we can't be in court. Or because we are in court, we can't be in the Senate.
Okay.
You will deal with the issues as they come. This is what I have to tell you. Because I have asked you a question, tell me any matter that concerns Busia County that is before the Senate that we have not responded to.
I believe I've answered that, Governor, but you're here to answer the questions, and not me. I was just trying to get information.
No, but I said just as a general knowledge, are you aware of any matter?
There's no, as I answered.
Yes.
Why I'm asking this, because, you know, just a while back, Busia Senator Okiya Omtata filed a petition in the High Court against you.
Yes.
Yeah? Accusing you of undermining his oversight role.
How?
You tell us. What's the bond of contention between the two of you?
Now, that's what I'm saying.
Blood?
You know, they accuse, that question is better for him. Because I have asked you, tell me of any matter before the Senate that we have not addressed. You have told me there's none, and there's none that I know of. The matters before the court, that is a completely different jurisdiction. And any citizen can take you to court. And you know my senator has also taken even the national government to court. Can you say that that is undermining his role? Because if there are issues to take to the Senate, he as a senator, he can take them to the Senate. But also as a Kenyan, he has got his right. If he feels that this matter, I'm better off prosecuting it in court, it is his right. Then we allow the courts to decide. So let us separate those two things. You cannot say that you are prosecuting Senate matters in court before even the matters have been before the Senate, because there's a procedure. You know it very well, that all these audit reports that we go to answer, like even the ones I've been answering, and you put it very correctly, these are historical, but government is perpetual. You can never go there and say, I was not there. You have to go there and say, these are the issues as I know them. Are you getting it?
Yes.
And then it's up to the Senate to decide.
So there's no bad blood between you and your
There's no bad blood between me. He's my brother. I love him. He has, you know, through his role, he has also played a major role in this country. The only issue that I may have is just to say that sometimes, please, in the process of doing your work, let us separate issues about the Senate and issues about activism, whereby you have a right to go to court or take any other thing. But issues that need to go through the county assembly, go through the Senate, we have got no issue.
Okay.
Yeah, but if there is an issue, a matter that now maybe needs to go to court, then again, that is your human right. And it is up to us to go to court and defend ourselves, because the courts have got also their own jurisdiction, just like we have got 3 arms of government. So that is the issue that we are dealing with sometimes, and people mix, but there's no personal issue about it. In fact, the other time when he was having issues that he has been attacked and all that, I said that is a wrong thing to do, because he has a right as a Kenyan to do his things the way he thinks is right. And he has done a lot of certain things right. And there are certain things I also have never agreed with him.
Okay.
And it's human nature.
All right. Now, one of the issues raised was the lack of proper documentation, you know, that happened with the previous government of Busia County. So then, how are you ensuring going forward there's that proper documentation, accountability, transparency?
Thank you so much. Because I think if you watch my presentation at the Senate, one of the things I showed the Senate is a policy on record keeping and documentation. And you know, government is about procedures and rules. But unfortunately, we didn't find those kind of things there. I can tell you, even as I speak to you here today, we didn't have what we call a human resource manual. We were still using that thing of transitional authority. But that's what I found. But now, how do I complain? It's my duty now to put those systems in place. There were no directors. The positions were there. People have been acting in positions that they should not be acting in for a very long period. But how does that help me? That is what I found as the CEO now it is my responsibility to sort those issues. And I'll sort them out. And you know it very well that government is about procedures, processes, and the rule of law. Now, if you don't put those processes in place, that's where you end up in a lot of trouble. Because you'll be saying today, you are talking about records. Where is your policy? How do you do this thing? Who is supposed to do what? Even when you tell people to sign performance contracts, they are signing based on what? Which systems have you put in place that I can hold you accountable if you don't do the right thing? To a point that it created mentality among some of these people that they are permanent and pensionable and nothing can be done to them. Because there is no tool to measure their performance. But very soon you wait and you'll see. At least if there'll be one thing that they'll achieve is to make sure that I have put systems in place, I have built an institution, and we have built a government.
Okay. The one other thing I wanted us to talk about is the Busia County Integrated Development Plan 2023-2027. How far is the implementation?
As I said, just even from what I have spoken, you can see we are facing a lot of challenges.
Yes.
Even just the implementation framework. But I can tell you one thing. One of the biggest problems we said, we need to fight poverty. We need to give health to our people. We need to, develop the infrastructure required. And currently, we identified and said, for us to fight poverty, we must monetize and commercialize the rural population. And that's how we came up with what we are calling the ward-based economic revitalization program. And this is sometimes where there's a confluence between my program there and the current president of the Republic of Kenya. Because when he saw that is when he called me and said, I can see what you are trying to do, and what you are trying to do seems to be, aligning. How can we partner to help each other? And that brought me quite some bit of problems, political issues. But sometimes you don't mind. That is something you have to pay for the purposes of moving forward. So through what we were calling the ward-based economic revitalization program, we said, Busia, we can do edible oil crops. We can do groundnuts, we can do cotton, we can do soya. And already we have proven that we are a very good groundnut growing area because we have quite a sizable economic activity in groundnuts. So we say then, if we can do this, and if you looked in my manifesto, which was later collapsed into the County Integrated Development Plan, we said if we support this through forming cooperatives in wards, through giving tools, through mechanized agriculture, and even just get, like 1,000 farmers per ward. We have got 35 wards. That will be 35,000 people. If each has just an acre or half an acre, we are looking at 35,000 acres that we can put under this. Now, what is the economic value? We worked it out and said, through these processes alone, we can maybe bring in 10 billion shillings into rural area. Then we said one of the biggest problems is exploitation. So why don't we also look at the markets through cooperatives, form these people in cooperatives, and look at aggregation, so that when we produce, we aggregate, so that then we are able, to put it together and even do value addition. And that's why Busia was the first county where the issue about industrial parks came in, and which we are really struggling to have it finished. But more important, we're also struggling with production. And some partners have also come on board. Because at the end of the day, what we want to do is people to have some commercial viability. You can't fight poverty when somebody wakes up in a day and he doesn't know even where to earn a shilling. You start selling your maize, a gorogoro at 50 shillings, just because your kid needs a matchbox or you need a kilo of sugar, because you have got nothing else. And the same commodity is going to be sold back to you in 2 to 3 months at almost 3 times the price, because you have nothing. So that's what we are trying to do, to say we can do cotton, we can do edible oils, crops. And we have signed agreements with the Rivertex and all these other people. But as I say, to start something is not easy. We need to educate people, and we are employing agriculture extension officers. We are telling these people that we can do this economic revitalization. It can be done. That's one thing that I'm looking at. It may not be visible, because some people look at concrete and mortar as development, but I look at it completely different. I would think that if people are economically empowered, then they can be able to participate in the economy.
And you address the unemployment.
Yeah, and you address like now if we did that KIBS and value addition, additionally now, we want to make Busia what we are calling a logistics hub. When you see all these people coming to Kenya and saying that Kenya is the gateway to East and Central Africa, what are you talking about? You are talking about Mombasa and you are talking about Busia. But what is the economic gain for the people of Busia in terms of the East and Central African business? Zero. The trailers are on the road. There's no economic integration. So we are saying let's make Busia a logistics hub so that we are integrated in the East and Central African business. And currently as I speak, the EPZ project is going on, is being built. Yeah, and we expect to open it. We said Kenya is using a lot of money to import rice. We can do almost 20,000 acres of rice in Budalangi. So that this water that is disturbing us, if we did the right thing, this country can be self-sufficient in rice. If we put 20,000 acres under irrigation, we can do 3 crops in a year. That is already ongoing. Phase 1 is finished. Okay. We are now looking at phase 2. That is already ongoing. Then, of course, there are all these other normal survival things, roads, you know, water, all these kind of things that people talk about, improvement of infrastructure and all that. We were trying to say also that if Busia Town and Malaba are not properly, you know, developed and with the plans, who will invest? So that's why we have also now said we must move very quickly to make sure that the municipality of Malaba and Busia, we have got proper municipality boards, they are empowered, they have got plans, so that today if an investor landed in Busia and he said, I want to put up this and this, there's a system. You know, this thing where everything is just in disarray. You don't know what is what, who will invest there. But immediately we turn Busia into a logistics hub. It will be easy for people to do that. But unfortunately, as I told you, people think short term. People want to think about, you are elected now, but you want to think about the next election. You are not seeing the vision that you have for your people. And you can't have a vision when you want to be controlled by people who even don't know where they are going. You must be resilient enough to say, yes, it may look very unpopular, but please, let us make a move in this direction.
All right.
If you have got a better idea, come and tell us so that a good idea will give way to a better idea. But just talking for the sake of talking when you are doing nothing, to me, I don't think that can work. And I can tell you that it is not the first time we are doing things. We have been able to do things in certain places. I ask people that for some of us who had the opportunity to work with multinationals, these people are not with us here, but they would leave us their companies. Some of them, they have got a gross output even bigger than Kenya's economy or the whole of East African economy combined, and you are able to do these things. So what is so difficult for us? It is just the mindset.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know time is not on our side, but let's talk about ODM party politics. There are mamas here and there that you're leaning towards the government.
Yes.
Is it true or not? You have a chance to, you know, give us what it is.
First of all, know that I'm an elected ODM member,
yes,
and I'm an ODM elected governor. I run the Busia County. We have got the national government, which is run by President Ruto. And as it is in the constitution, the two governments work together. And it's not unique to Busia alone. So anybody trying to profile Busia or to profile us, it is not acceptable. Are you getting me? I'm a member of the Orange Democratic Party, elected on that party for the last 20 years, mark you. I was not elected yesterday. It's for the last 20 years I've been on that party. So those things you hear about, sometimes it's just people who don't understand what is going on. The two levels of government must work together. And it is not unique to Busia. It is all over. It is just that somebody thinks that Busia is a satellite county, maybe Busia is an inferior county. These are the people who talk this kind of thing. But unfortunately, to me, it doesn't bother me at all. I will work with the national government for the best interest of Busia people, but my party is ODM. Even currently, I want to wish my party leader well. We had just our NGC today, the National Governing Council, and we wished him well. And the Kenyan government, we said, if there's one thing that has united Kenyans, just like sports, you know, when our athletes are doing well, it is this issue of my party leader going to African Union. All Kenyans are united. So a good thing will be seen. If I'm doing a good thing for Busia people by saying the two levels of government are working together, who are you to come and lecture me? Yeah? Look for people whom you can lecture, but not me. Yeah, because I am representing the sovereign right of the people of Busia.
Okay.
And that must be respected. Because when the president goes other places, you don't hear those things. Do you ever hear of those things?
Sometimes not.
Where have
it
you
depends.
heard? You hear the president is in Siaya, is in Homa Bay. Do you hear of any of these things? So I just want to be clear today on this thing, that please, Busia is not a satellite county for anybody. And people must respect the sovereign right of people. I was elected by the people. If you have got any other way to think, please just wait for 2027. You will come up with your issues.
Okay.
But for that one, I can tell you, I don't even lose sleep over it, because I know whom I am. I'm elected on my party. I know what it is. If today I had got any issues, I would speak them openly. That's why I speak to my party leader. Has he ever complained about anything? Have you ever heard that I'm on disciplinary? Because I'm not okay. You know this thing about Kenya's politics all the time. Even today, today we were speaking about, you remember yesterday about wage bill.
Yes.
It's a national problem. Now, will you go there and say it's about Kenya Kwanza and Azimio? It can't be.
All right.
If we talk about agriculture, if we talk about the things I've told you about economic revitalization, these are issues that are touching on the people. And to me, there's no human being who is for national government and county government. These are all Kenyans.
Okay.
So when we are talking about that, let's talk. But when it comes to politics, let us engage.
Okay. Finally, to the people of Busia who are watching you, what should they expect from you in the coming months, in the future?
First of all, I want to tell the people of Busia that let us be resilient. Let us fight poverty. And to fight poverty, we must look at it in the face, eyeball to eyeball. What is it that I can do to change my situation? And how do you engage the government as a partner? Are you getting me? So that when we say we can till for you, we can give you agriculture extension people, you can get subsidized fertilizer, you can get seed, so that a quarter an acre that was producing 5 bags maybe can give you 10 bags. This is what I'm looking at. And then secondly, we're also saying we must educate our children and we must reskill our children. That is so important. Once we have food security, we have got something left for commercial activity, and then we have reskilled our people. That will give us opportunity to progress further. But all these other issues that we are talking about, medical services and all these things, they'll come with time. Because when we have got resources, and we have got when I talk of resources, it's not just about money, it's also the human resource. Because today when people tell you, madawa imefika, lakini haiko kwa sibitali, it's about the human resources, integrity issues. So we need to be clear today that if, yes, truly we supplied medicine and it's finished, then we have got records to be able to do that.
Okay.
So I want just to assure them, and I also want to appeal to our medical personnel. Please, let us engage. I would not want to use any of these languages. Some of our children are also medical people. So we understand, but let us engage in a reasonable manner that can sort out some of these problems.
Okay.
Yeah, but let us not go the way we are going. These issues of court orders, what, and people are dying, to me it is not a solution. We are failing in our leadership. Let us just engage and see what is an amicable solution to the issues that are challenging us. Because nobody will go anywhere, let me tell you. The only problem at the end of all these exercise will be those who have lost their lives. But somehow I can tell you, a solution will be found. But the earlier the better, so that we alleviate the suffering of the people. Or are you going to tell me Kenya will not be there because people are striking? At the end of the day, we will reach some solution.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Governor. Dr. Paul Otuoma, Busia Governor, for joining us. And maybe one day I'll come to Busia and you teach me a thing or two about fish farming.
Karibu, yes, I do fish farming.
Yes, so
Karibu.
Thank you so much.
I do cassava, I do fish farming.
Yeah.
You know the good thing that after translocating from Nairobi to home, you eat what this thing they call organic food. You know, as it comes from the farm. So karibu.
Sawa, I will hold you once to it. Thank you so much. And of course, I'm Ashley Mazuri. Tributes continue pouring in, and I leave you with that. Have a good night.